me just quickly, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, so you're saying that like that was basically the first time you met a South African, right? So
Yeah, well, that I remember. Yeah,
yeah,
but it was watching the World Cup rugby in '95 in Australia.
I mean you basically couldn't have picked a better time to like, start to experience South African culture.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That was well, and it was super interesting. That movie Matt Damon made.
Yeah.
I can't remember what was it called.
Um,
Vindicus or something. I can't remember.
something. Yeah, I should know this. I'm South African. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was. Wasn't it Long Walk to Freedom? What wasn't it that one?
Invictus.
Invictus. You're talking about Invictus. Yes, yes, yes. You're right. Invictus.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. About the rugby. So we made that movie, and it was funny because that was like a big flashback for me because I was like in
Yeah,
Australia watching that game live, right? So it was fun. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, I've never been to South Africa, but I had a friend of mine who's from there, and he told me I'll never forget the quote. He said, I think he lived right on the beach, right? And he said the air smells like champagne. I remember that's what he
That's
told me.
incredible. That's
So
amazing.
I was wanting to check it out.
Yeah, but that's what like I've been chatting to Ryan a lot since leaving, and
Yeah.
it looks like he's basically decided that after lockdown he's like screw it, I'm packing up and I'm coming to Cape Town, and I'm gonna spend some time working in Cape Town. And I said to him, look, it's great for you guys on that side because everything you own there, right? You're earning in Canadian dollars. So right now, I think I might be incorrect, slightly off, but it's like 12 rand to one Canadian dollar. So for you guys to come here and like spend 6 months, work, you know, earn cash here and there, kind of do what you want and live the lifestyle in summer, and then go home, it's almost cheaper for you to do that than to stay at home, which is crazy.
Right. Right.
So
I know what you
he's
mean.
he's probably gonna want to come over and do that. But he has a lot of South African friends that live here. They stay out in Paarl and like way out where like all the Afrikaans people live and all the big guys, all the farmers and everything. So he's got a ton of friends out there, which is great for him. Um,
No, what's going on with you guys right now regarding all the coronavirus stuff? Like, what's the situation in South Africa?
Oh, dude. So, like, our biggest problem, right, with coronavirus is that luckily we were good at jumping on it very early. So we put measures in place that stopped it from spreading as badly as the rest of the world. So I take my hat off to our government and our leaders and stuff because they jumped on it very quickly. But we have to
Did
because
they
we have
close
such.
airports and stuff?
Yes, yeah, yeah, all of them. Borders closed,
Yeah,
everything. And it
yeah.
was it was it was quite a big deal for us to find a way to bring South Africans home. Jess and I were one of them that had to like last minute pack up, jump on any flight we could get, and just run home basically.
Right.
Because borders started closing and we didn't want to be stuck in Canada because it's very expensive, and we didn't really have anywhere to go. So we made it back. So South Africa put measures in place of closing borders, put a lot of effort into bringing people home. And for us, unfortunately, because we have such a high population of, or such at least such a high rate of unemployment, and we have such a high rate of poverty, if coronavirus gets into townships where everyone's living on top of each other and everyone's very interactive all the time, they kind of have to live that lifestyle, we'll be so screwed because it will spread like wildfire. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so we like basically went into lockdown for 3 weeks, and that lockdown was supposed to be ending the end of this week, and then government announced like 4 days ago, I think, that we have a 2 week extension on it, so we're going on 5, which I think is
Okay.
great. I think it's it sucks right now, but bite the bullet and do what you have to,
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. My only issue, really, because I mean, what affects you is what matters to you. My
Yeah,
only issue is just trying to make sure that my business survives. Because
yeah,
it's a bit of a shit show in Canada right now. All the small businesses are like, their landlords are like, we want our rent. Like that hasn't
really,
been fixed yet. Yeah, the government hasn't stepped in. They've stepped in with a loan program,
yeah,
but a lot of small businesses are like, what good's a loan going to do me? I still have to pay it all back. Like, you're
exactly.
preventing me from operating. You know what I mean? So they just wind up coming out of the lockdown in really deep debt, and then their overhead's higher, and then it's like it's a spiral.
Yeah,
So they haven't done anything about commercial rent yet. they've frozen everyone's, like, if you're renting off a landlord to live, like residential,
Yeah.
that's all been frozen, and mortgages are deferred and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So people shouldn't wind up, that theoretically shouldn't wind up homeless, but businesses don't really have much protection at all yet. So they're trying to scramble to do something, and I'm trying to, make sure the gym
Yeah.
is fucking still there in 2 months.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, so that's my my main concern.
How long is your guys' lockdown supposed to go on for?
Well, that they're being very indefinite about everything. They
Oh
haven't,
shit.
like when they first said 2 weeks, but then that quickly just
Yeah.
became a fairy tale, and now they're just day by day, like they're not giving us an end date.
Oh,
There's
I
a
see.
lot of things have been closed until May 1st at the earliest, and then they're going to revisit.
Mm.
And then where I live, gyms are closed until June 1st at
Fuck,
least.
dude, that's long.
So they just announced, they're like, yeah, gyms June 1st, don't even think about it.
But
Like,
that, like,
so
that's what confuses me about this whole thing is that for the government, especially yours, like you guys have a really good government, you have a really good economy, and I can only make the comparison between my home being a third world country and yours being a first. And now
right,
having been in both and spending a fair amount of time there, you kind of get to see the contrast and see the similarities as well as the differences. And your government's usually so good with like, reading this kind of thing and helping the people out. And it's such a rich economy
right,
out of what I understand that like small businesses should be your main focus. Like that should be, big businesses, it doesn't matter. It obviously, makes a little bit of a dent, but they can overcome it
right.
because of their size. But smaller businesses, it's like, dude, we like trying to get by here, and you want to give a loan that then when things open and it's even harder for us to run a business, now we have to pay you back as well.
Yeah, yeah. And then there's people that don't qualify for certain loans. Like they have a small business loan for everybody, but a lot of people are like, well, shit, I don't qualify because there's some technical detail.
See.
So they're having a real hard time. But yeah, I mean, it does put things into perspective. I mean, I've traveled all over the world. I know you've been all over the world,
Yeah.
and it's I think our unemployment was like 3% when this started.
What?
You know, it's going to wind up being like 20% when it's over.
Yeah.
But it's yeah. I mean, we don't have a lot to complain about, and sometimes you find yourself bitching, and you're like, wait a minute, the term, oh, that's a first world problem,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then that fucking a lot of our stuff is first world problems.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you live in a place where there is that threat of like massive spread, like
Mm-hmm.
beyond comprehension. I'm thinking of countries like India and stuff too. Like, what are the
Yeah,
real
dude.
numbers over there? Like,
Yeah.
we're not hearing anything about them.
Well,
You know?
that's what's been so interesting about this whole thing. I did a podcast earlier this week with a friend of mine that studied in computer science, and we got into the topic of 5G and all these theories and conspiracies and stuff behind the 5G. And because of having to do research on 5G, I did so much research into China and the US and Wuhan and all the countries surrounding, and like Russia. No one's heard a peep out of Russia. Like, how was South Korea one of the best, countries to handle this kind of problem? Like, South Korea were in lockdown like 2 weeks before they even announced the virus. And I'm like, wait a second. And then we look at India, like you're saying, who have such a massive population and such a massive part of the population are living in poverty. You'll never get the real numbers. Never. Like,
No,
how are you
no.
possibly going to like test every person in India?
Yeah, they don't even really know their population, right?
Exactly.
So it's like estimated per square kilometer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a crazy time, man. But you mentioned the one thing. I have a family member. My brother is an infectious disease specialist.
Oh,
So
wow.
he's dealing, so he's dealing directly with COVID patients right now at the hospitals. He's seen all sorts of crazy stuff. Like, he's been infectious disease for 25 years. So he's told me crazy stories about people like coming into the hospital with like 5 different infections, and they have to like try to save their life with all these drugs, and it's just crazy, right? But he told me, he said, from a specialist point of view, the number one thing we have to learn from this is that in the future, when there's any kind of eruption of a virus like this, we have to have a system in place where all borders close and all planes are grounded.
Yeah.
And everyone's so afraid of that because they think, oh, well, travel is necessary. But if you do that, then you prevent having to shut down every single business in the country later on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's way less damage. And he also said, think of it this way: people who are traveling internationally and they're stuck in airports, they're okay. They got a credit card.
Yes.
They'll be fine.
Yes.
They can grab a hotel room. They'll figure it out. But, you know, people struggling with small businesses, you shut them down, they're not necessarily fine.
Yeah.
Inconveniencing travelers for a week is completely different than, you know, letting it get to the stage where you have to shut down your economy. So we have to be ready to shut down borders without people getting like, everyone gets insulted when you talk about shutting borders because the whole
they do.
Oh, what do you don't like outsiders? It's like whoa. Everyone has to do this.
Yeah.
We all have to be able to drop the gate on the border immediately.
Yeah.
And then bring our people home strategically, you know, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's going to be something we're going to have to get good at.
Yeah, I think absolutely spot on in that. I don't know, maybe because we haven't dealt with something like this for a very long time. I don't know why that wasn't the first thing that we jumped on, you know, as in like everyone in that country's sick. And I know this sounds harsh. Okay, so leave them there. Let's fix the problem for them instead of it spreads and now they've just become a second thought.
So my brother also had another great point. He said, let's imagine the next virus is way worse and it has like a huge mortality rate, like 30% or something crazy.
Yeah.
Right? Imagine if we drop the borders or close the borders immediately. Now we only have 3 countries that have it. And everyone else can help.
Yeah.
But if we wind up with, what do we have now? 200 countries that have it?
200.
So everyone can't help anyone else. Everyone's scrambling to help themselves now. It just makes it way worse. But if we close the borders early, everyone else can come and help the countries that have, you know, the problem. Like, imagine if they closed the borders imagine if December 31st, they closed all borders. I wonder what the situation, we'd all be back to work already.
Yeah. Well, basically, you know, all the countries that didn't have the problem would be just going about their day and being like, oh, wow, look what happened in China. Yeah.
Half of Europe would be operational.
Exactly. But it's
so.
I mean, just the personality that I have and the personality that a lot of people have, which has been really cool to see, is people finding a way to still get shit done and to stay positive through all of this.
Yeah.
And like you said, what happens when the next one's worse? And I think that's a very real thought. This has been kind of easier to stay positive because, you know, I came back to South Africa, I'm with the family, we can still go get food, you know, no one here's sick, everyone's safe, so it's kind of like, oh damn, I'm stuck at home, you know, so like I don't have the full impact of having a sick family, you know, or being stuck in a situation where I can't get hold of food or whatever, and immediately my mind goes there to those people. And then last night, funny you brought this up, last night I watched Contagion or Contagion or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Dude,
the Matt Damon one, right?
That movie threw me for a flip. I was like, this shit feels too real. And the movie was released 4 years ago, and in the movie, you find out at the end that the virus started from a bat that ate something and it fell to a pig child with that, and then a dude cut up the pig and then shook hands with someone and bang, there went the virus. And I was like, how did we release that 4 years ago and now that's exactly what happens? And this whole thing was just playing in my head.
The funny thing is now, like, you know, every time anything happens, people go dig through all the old footage of people talking, right? So of course there's all these examples of people
that's so true.
predicting this. Like, you know, there's people just making side comments like, oh yeah, you know, one of these days someone's gonna eat a fucking pig that ate a weasel and have a new plague. And it's like
a new mixture of wildlife.
That's how that stuff can happen, right? So I think that as long as we all take a big lesson from this, there's a million different lessons.
Yeah.
Some people are learning a lot about themselves right now, locked home
Yeah.
alone, and they're realizing what they really want to do with their lives. And there's a whole bunch of like, you know, transformative stuff going on with a
Yeah.
lot of people right now,
Yeah.
or they're stuck at home. They're stuck at home with someone that, like there's people that don't have a good home. They're stuck at home with like
Yeah, dude.
someone who's real shitty to be stuck at home with. And so you gotta, like some of these people that, I don't like to get like too critical, but some of the people on their high horse, right? Oh,
Oh,
just stay home.
yeah.
Just stay home. Why would you have to leave home?
And that drives
It's
me
like,
insane. You have like all these celebrities
yeah,
and
you
like,
don't know anything about that person.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And then you've got
yeah,
like people on socials. Like social media is a great thing, but it also sucks ass half the time. You got people that like it's easy to stay home, and then you see their home, and I'm like, dude, eh,
so
you know,
of course it's easy to stay home. You have a 3-car garage full of gym equipment.
exactly. Like
Of
I
course
could do
you
that.
I wouldn't leave the house.
Oh, and that's what I've been seeing like for us to go specific on that idea in that I see so many guys in the fitness industry that are like stay positive and like I appreciate it, but I also see the irony in this in that it's like stay positive, stay motivated, keep making gains, keep pushing, and then I see their like home gym in their garage and I'm like, oh fuck you, dude. Like really? Like if I could also be like deadlifting 4 plates and benching, whatever it is that I do, like why do you even have a gym membership in the first place? Like you could just train at home 3 times a day. Yeah, it's been
Yeah, I have clients. Luckily, I still have some clients because I mean, bodybuilding shows are all closed, gyms are
yeah,
closed. So a lot of my clients are like, well, fuck yeah, I guess we'll talk in a few months when things open up and we get rolling again. So, so every trainer is hurting right now, right, in some
yeah.
way. But I was fortunate that I still have a couple clients who are firefighters, so they have access to a hall gym,
Oh, sick.
so they can still train, right? So firefighters are pretty lucky; they can still train. At least the ones I know can still train on the days they work, so they can still get in like 4 workouts a week, real hard and heavy. And
Awesome.
and then I got a couple clients that are just those guys. Like I got one dude; he's he's in his late 40s and he's got a lot of money, right?
Yeah,
And he, oh wow, I said fucking back the cars out of the garage, get some equipment in here. So he's got like
really.
leg press, hack squat, leg extension, leg curl, full leg room delivered, dumbbells to 120 delivered, just like within a week. He just orders it up. Fuck it, let's go. How long is this gonna be? 2 months? Fuck it.
Yeah, he's like, screw it. I'm not getting small. Yeah.
He's like, I'm not missing a workout. So he's like, he's all got a home gym set up.
That's so
And then
dope.
my training partner happens to be an equipment collector, so he has a home gym set up. So we go train at his house a couple of times a
Oh,
week.
perfect.
But that's it. I stay home the rest of the time and do nothing.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, dude. I mean, look, that's what our one goal is right now: train and just stay at home. And I really can't complain. We've got a really nice setup here at my girlfriend's place. We've got like little cable machine, dumbbells up to like 40 pounds, which you can do a lot with. I'm learning. One of those like all-in-one machines, and then a stepper, bicycle, like a whole bunch of stuff to keep fit as well.
Oh yeah.
I miss lifting heavy a lot.
Yep. Oh yeah.
But it also makes me look at it and I'm like, yo, I was so weak when it comes to like this and this and this and this muscle. Why do I've never trained that in my life, and it's like all these little things that I'm picking up, and just like once again finding the positive.
Are you good at chin-ups?
I'm so shit at them.
You'll be good at them by the end of this.
Exactly. I said
you have to have the bicep and the lat development.
I'm gonna have to hit all of them through this. Like I was saying to Ryan, I was like, dude, if I'm gonna get anything out of this lockdown, it's gonna be a good set of abs. Because like if you can't do anything, you can do a sit up. Yeah, like
a good set of abs and a good solid chin technique.
Yeah, there we go. A good chin to get that little, the chin dip at the top there every time.
Yeah.
But that's
what about yourself with like with what you do for a living, I
Mm.
mean, you're in the, would you say, movie business or entertainment business? What do you tell people?
Yeah, I'd usually go for like, like film industry or movie business is
Massive
sick.
movie star, since you're
I
a
wish
massive
one
movie
day.
star,
Yeah.
they're not shooting shit right now, obviously.
No, nothing. Nothing.
So were you supposed to be doing something right now that's been canceled or postponed?
Kind of. So my whole
Okay.
plan was I'd eventually accumulated enough of a like acting CV for me to kind of go overseas and be like, hey guys, hi agents, this is what I've done. It's not the biggest amount of stuff, but I'm out of South Africa, so what I've done, you can take a look. And I kind of had to wait for every aspect to fall into place. So my socials and my accent and my CV and my, just everything needed to be the right time. And finally came over to Canada. I was there 4 years ago for TIFF. Did the premieres and stuff for a movie I did back then, an independent film, which was a crazy experience. And I was like, hey, I need to come back to Canada. This place is sick.
What was it? What was it called?
Journey is the destination.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
bought over by Netflix and was on there for a while. Really, really cool story. It was a really, really special story, and I'm very blessed that that was the first movie that I got on because I made such good friends, and it was a really important message to get
Right.
across
Oh,
to
okay.
to the viewers. So went over for that, and then now was finally able to go back. I waited like 5 years to finally get to go back to Canada. Had the money and everything, and I was like, dope, I'm going for a solid 3 months. Like, I'm going, I'm staying, I'm gonna learn how to live in Canada, gonna get my agents, gonna do everything I need to do. And within the first 3 weeks, I'd done everything I needed to do. And I was like, okay, now I guess I can, focus on other things and, auditions and all that kind of stuff. And then coronavirus happened. And the original plan was to come home and immediately apply for my work visa, so I could have my acting work visa, right? Was going to apply for that, and as soon as the papers go in, I can start rolling in auditions, because then my agent knows, no, his paperwork is in, don't worry, his visa's coming, just start auditioning.
Right.
And that was
Right.
that was kind of what my plan was going to be. And the whole irony of the acting industry is that you're an actor, but you're everything else as well, because in the first however many years of your career, you can't just sit around waiting for the next thing. Life moves on and things are expensive and you got to do what you got to do, hustle your ass off. So the plan was to get back, immediately apply for the visa and be auditioning until I landed something. And then coronavirus and everything happened and I got back and I was like, oh shit. Now there's like a 2 month wait on my visa. Borders are closed. There's no auditions. I was like, ah, shit. Like everything that
Yeah.
was perfect feels like it went down the drain. And yeah,
Right.
dude, I've got this saying that I learned in grade 2. I'll never forget. My second grade teacher said in one of our like hall meetings, she said, a boo-boo turns into a blessing, right? And I've held on to the saying my entire life. And it's just in taking something negative and how there's always a way, it's kind of like a silver lining. There's always a way to find a positive out of it. And looking at this coronavirus and stuff, like, it's literally given me the time to sit down and self-tape in a way that it's not me going, oh, this is for a great audition, like, oh yeah, it better be good. It's just been, do you like acting? Do you like learning lines? Do you like getting into
Right.
character? Do you like the emotional draw points? Because if you do, now's the perfect time to do it, brother. Sit on your ass and just keep
Yeah.
doing it. And as soon as I made that adjustment in my head, I was like, fuck, okay, I actually really love acting. Like, this is definitely what I want to do. And as soon as lockdown ends and this coronavirus, calms down, I'm going to come out more ready than what I would have had I come home and just been like, I'm all excited, let's go for it, let's just gun it.
Sort of makes me think of I like to draw comparisons,
Yeah.
right? And what you just said is sort of like that's a life lesson that some people need to learn. Like in my industry, I see a lot of people, they can only train and they can only follow their diet when they have a show coming.
Really?
But in the off season, They don't train hard. They miss workouts. They miss meals because there's no looming event for them, and they need that goal. Whereas where I was said, a real bodybuilder loves to train.
Yeah.
And like I trained for 7 years before I did my first show because I wanted to be big. I wanted to win my first show. Like I was like, I don't want to just compete for fun. I want to like walk on stage as a true like heavyweight.
Yeah.
Look good, you know?
Yeah.
So I trained for 7 years before I ever competed. So what you just said, like, do you actually like to act, or are you just trying to get a job acting?
Exactly.
And so even though there's no event for you right now, you still got to train.
Yeah.
You know, you got to train your skill.
Yeah.
And hone your craft and all that.
Exactly. And it's I'm so keen to get onto the topic of you and your competitions and that whole thing, just because I started training. I swam very competitively the whole of high school and got offered a scholarship to train for the Olympics. And I was just in the headspace of a 17-year-old kid, and I was like, not a chance. All I'm doing every day is swimming by myself 6 hours a day in a pool alone. I'm not making any friends. I'm not going out. My family were going to move to a different city. I was like, okay, fuck it. I guess that's for me in swimming. And that'll always be something that I'm like, oh, you know, but I was really good at it. You know, like, what if? And it's, you know, kind of fighting that thought. But because I dropped that, I got into weightlifting because my dad was big into it. And got into weightlifting and kind of, you know, started that. And everyone starts out weightlifting, like looking at these really lean posing guys on social media, you know, the abs and a little bit of bicep and whatever. And I got into that, and I was modeling at the time, and I was like, dope, you know, like the better I look, the more jobs I'll pull. And I really, really wasn't enjoying modeling. And my focus just started shifting from like looking good for modeling, this whole image, to kind of like, hang on, I really enjoy training. Like, you know, if I can bench 250, what if I can bench 260? And what if I can squat this? And what if I can, you know? And the focus started shifting into looking good to feeling good and being big and being strong. And that's when I started getting into like, I've made so many friends in powerlifting and in bodybuilding and in like, and it's such an underrated industry. And I've been saying this from day one. And as an actor, you never hear this because, you know, when are you ever going to see an actor that's into powerlifting and bodybuilding other than maybe Dwayne Johnson? And it's the amount of dedication and focus and like mental health and mental strain that you go through is so similar to acting in that, you know, if I'm going to do a movie or whatever, I'm going to do a role, like I'm mentally prepping and script prepping 2-3 months ahead of time if you give me the chance. Bodybuilders are training and eating and sleeping and supplementing every single day. Like I don't think people fully understand
24/7.
How difficult that is. Like
it's I say bodybuilding is the ultimate mental endurance test.
Yeah.
Like there's, you know, like there's a lot. People say, "What's the hardest sport?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know. The one I die doing, which is swimming."
Yeah, that's definitely the hardest one.
So whatever sport would kill you is the hardest. So for me, swimming,
there we go.
Swimming would be my hardest sport. But you know, there's sports that are extremely hard. You know, the training regimen is ridiculous. Like track and field guys are like, they have 8 hours of various shit they're doing a day. You know, all this. You know, they just. Some athletes are just amazing, but then a track and field guy can have a pizza and relax. And so there's like the offset, right? Whereas bodybuilding, it's like, yeah, you're only killing yourself in the gym for 90 minutes a day, but the rest of the day you're locked to a ridiculous schedule of food and sleep and timing and regimented everything. You know, like one of my favorite quotes is Jay Cutler, who, you know who Jay is. Some of your listeners will, I'm sure.
You've got him in the background there. Absolute legend.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's on the wall.
Yeah, there we go.
But Jay has a famous quote where, you know, he says, like, he's to try to get it through to people. He's like, when I was trying to win the Mr. Olympia, I lived in a fucking box.
Really?
He's like,